As if there wasn't enough challenge already, trying to have a deity welcoming and a discussion on the importance of Srimad Bhagavatam back to back. So here we go. Because the class tomorrow evening, is on Bhadra Purnima, although it's not Bhadra Purnima yet, but the Sunday before Bhadra Purnima is tomorrow. So in honor of the impending Bhadra Purnima and the interest in ISKCON centers all over the world, ISKCON centers all over the world are doing what we're doing, or we're doing what everyone's doing, which is encouraging our members and friends and communities and people we know and people we don't know to take an interest in Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, why would we have an interest to have people take interest in Srimad Bhagavatam? And that's what the topic is today. The Glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. And there's many, many, many sources. We're going to start with our acharyas. One of our acharyas is Sanatana Goswami. One of the books, Mataji? Take a look. Yeah, thanks. One of the books written by Sanatana Goswami, Krishna Lila Stava. And as you see at the bottom, Gopi Pranadana Prabhu has translated this from Sanskrit into English. And in the beginning, he has this eulogy of Srimad Bhagavatam. Oh, Srimad Bhagavatam. Oh, nectar churned from the ocean of all the Vedic scriptures. Oh, most prominent transcendental fruit of all the Vedas. Oh, you who are enriched with the jewels of all spiritual philosophical conclusions. Oh, you who grant spiritual vision to all the people of the world. O life breath of the Vaishnava devotees. O Lord, you are the sun which has arisen to dispel the darkness of the Kali Yuga. You are actually Lord Krishna, who has returned among us. Let's go back. And every one of Srila Prabhupada's favorite lines is, and every verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, every line of Srimad Bhagavatam, every word of Srimad Bhagavatam has volumes of meaning, and the meaning is to reveal Krishna. The Srimad Bhagavatam is Krishna himself. This is going to be confirmed in a short while. According to Padma Purana, Padma Purana is not Srimad Bhagavatam, but it's honoring Srimad Bhagavatam, that the 12 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam are the form of Krishna, the 2 feet of Krishna, the legs of Krishna, the waist of Krishna, the chest of Krishna, etc. So we approach the deity form starting with the lotus feet. So we approach Srimad Bhagavatam similarly with the first 2 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam, and then proceed and proceed and proceed up to the smiling face, the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Anything that Krishna can bestow to his devotee, Srimad Bhagavatam can bestow to his devotee, because they're literally non-different. There's no such thing as a problem that cannot be solved by Krishna, and there's no such thing as a problem that cannot be solved by Srimad Bhagavatam, provided we approach and access Srimad Bhagavatam properly. Let's go on. Paramananda Pataya. O Srimad Bhagavatam, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you by reading you what attains transcendental bliss, for your syllables rain pure love of God upon the reader. You are always to be served by everyone, for you are an incarnation of Lord Krishna. We know this to be a fact from Srimad Bhagavatam itself. What's the verse? Who knows the verse? When Maharaj Parikshit heard Srimad Bhagavatam from Shukadeva Goswami, in the audience hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, along with Maharaj Parikshit, was Sutta Goswami, and later the sages of Naimisharanya wanted to hear from Sutta Goswami what he had heard from Shukadeva Goswami. In other words, they wanted to hear Srimad Bhagavatam narrated again. Tomorrow evening we're going to hear how many times? Maybe 40 times, at least. Srimad Bhagavatam has been told and told again and told again, and we're going to hear those circumstances. Srimad Bhagavatam was told again and told again. Now it was recorded by Vyasadeva and compiled by Vyasadeva under the instructions of Narada Muni to do so. But it's the subject matter, Srimad Bhagavatam. Of course, the form and the particular words of each verse may very well have been different. That's quite okay. But the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam is the same throughout, the many, many, many times it was told and told again. But within Sutta Goswami's being asked to speak Srimad Bhagavatam again, the message was, now that Krishna has departed, how and where are religious principles to be protected? Because when Krishna was present, religious principles were protected. Pritranaya sadhunam, etc. Krishna's function was protecting religious principle. But Krishna's gone. So how are religious principles going to be protected? The answer is, from Sutta Goswami, celebrated verse, the light of the Bhagavad verse, that just as when the sun sets on the western horizon, shortly thereafter the moon may rise. In this case, the setting of the sun of Krishna the setting of the sun of Krishna, shortly thereafter, as brilliant as the sun shining of the moon-like rays of Srimad Bhagavatam appeared, giving light in this dark age of Kali, the light of the Bhagavat. So, Krishna disappeared and Krishna appeared. shortly thereafter, after Krishna's departure, shortly thereafter, the Srimad Bhagavatam made its appearance. And that Srimad Bhagavatam is not different than Krishna himself. O Srimad Bhagavatam, my only friend, my companion, O my teacher, O my great wealth, O my deliverer, O my good fortune, O my bliss, I offer respectful obeisances unto you. Now, Sanatana Goswami has the highest regard for Srimad Bhagavatam. We're going to hear tomorrow. When he was a young man, he was born in a Brahmin family, and one evening he had a dream. And in his dream, a Brahmana came in his dream and gave him a Srimad Bhagavatam. And he woke up startled. Much to his surprise, the next morning, the very same Brahmana in his dream came and gave him a Srimad Bhagavatam. How'd you like to have a dream like that? And so from his childhood, he had very strong, he took it as providential arrangement, and he was a deep lover of Srimad Bhagavatam from childhood, way before meeting Chaitanya Charitamrita, before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And what to speak of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then instructing him after decades of absorption in Srimad Bhagavatam, in the deeper meanings of Srimad Bhagavatam. So this is the mature stage of realization of Sanatana Goswami about, it's not just a poem of praise, it's his life. O Srimad Bhagavatam, O giver of saintliness to the unsaintly, O uplifter of the very fallen, please do not ever leave me. Please become manifest upon my heart and my throat, accompanied by pure love of Krishna. Some of you may know this. I think we're going to hear it again tomorrow. But when, according to Brihad Bhagavatamrita is an explanation, one might say a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam by Sanatana Goswami. And it goes like this. After Shukadeva Goswami completed narrating the entire Srimad Bhagavatam to Maharaj Parikshit, the snake bird hadn't come yet. And so Maharaj Parikshit's mother came running up and said to her son, I couldn't understand all of what he said. Could you tell me what he said? And Maharaj Parikshit said, my dear mother, normally at a time like this, one doesn't ask a question like that. But because you're my mother, I'll give a synopsis of all that I heard from Shukadeva Goswami. In other words, it's a commentary on what he heard. So it starts with Maharaj Parikshit narrating to his mother, and then it goes in so many different directions. And then there's part one, and part one is it's Narada Muni's search for the greatest recipient of Krishna's mercy. And he ends in understanding the greatest recipient of the mercy of Krishna is the residents of Vrindavan, and amongst the residents of Vrindavan, the gopis are the dearmost recipients of Krishna's mercy, and Radharani is the dearmost. And that's part one. And part two is, then he goes further to explain more about mantra and the connection between the message of Srimad Bhagavatam and mantra. And it's another very nice, very, very elaborate description. In other words, Sanatana Goswami loved Srimad Bhagavatam. All of the six Goswamis loved Srimad Bhagavatam. those that were writers, Raghunath Bhatta didn't write much. But he recited Srimad Bhagavatam every day for hours in 3 different melodies and meters. Every verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, he sang it like a cuckoo bird. And the cuckoo birds would be stunned sitting in the branches of the tree hearing the sweet singing of Sanatana Goswami, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami singing Srimad Bhagavatam. And on and on. Jiva Goswami essentially wrote 4 different commentaries on Srimad Bhagavatam. Very different types of categories of writing. Very, very different. Sanatana Goswami, when Sanatana Goswami wrote a commentary on the 10th canto, he gave the text to Jiva Goswami and asked him to proofread it, make sure there were no mistakes. Now there's no mistakes, but he asked him to proofread it and edit it as required. That's how much trusted Jiva Goswami was. And however good an author you are, you likely need an editor and a proofreader. Jiva Goswami not only went through and followed the service that was asked of him by Sanatana Goswami, but he wrote a commentary on his commentary. They love Srimad Bhagavatam. Because through the medium of Srimad Bhagavatam, they have approach to Krishna. But the approach to Krishna is through Srimati Radharani. So they're getting both Radha and Krishna through reading Srimad Bhagavatam. They love Srimad Bhagavatam, as we hear in these verses. There's a reference in Garuda Purana to Srimad Bhagavatam. Here's the reference. This Srimad Bhagavatam is the most perfect Purana. It is the natural commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. Because after compiling Vedanta Sutra, which was the summation of all the Vedas, we know from Bhagavatam that Vyasadeva was not feeling satisfied. So he was instructed by Narada, you write this literature, which in essence is a commentary on Vedanta Sutra. So it'll be easily understandable by everybody. It establishes the meaning of Mahabharata. It's a commentary on Gayatri. When you're finished with this list, it's like, what isn't it? And it expands the meaning of the Vedas. It is the Sama Veda of the Puranas. And it was spoken by the Supreme Lord Himself. Now we'll hear tomorrow. Supreme Lord Himself spoke Srimad Bhagavatam before Shukadeva Goswami spoke it to Maharaj Pariksit. But we have that version because it was written down by Vyas. But before that, it was spoken by the personality of Godhead. It has 12 cantos, hundreds of chapters, and 18,000 verses, just in case you wanted to be sure which Bhagavatam this is. Indeed, there's 2 very similar, if not identical, references in both Skanda and Vishnu Purana, where it says in Kali Yuga, what is the value of collecting hundreds of thousands of other scriptures if one does not keep Srimad Bhagavatam at home? Oh, learned Brahmana Narada. Wherever Srimad Bhagavatam is present in Kali Yuga, there the Supreme Lord goes, along with the demigods. This is an advertisement for purchasing a set of Srimad Bhagavatams, if you don't already have one. Or if you already have one, it's an advertisement that you make a gift to someone that you may know or you don't know. But put Krishna in their home, and Krishna and all the demigods go with the Srimad Bhagavatam when you make that gift. Srimad Bhagavatam itself, in the final chapter of the final canto, whole section glorifying the Bhagavatam, here's one verse. Just as the Ganga is the greatest of all rivers, Lord Achyuta is the supreme among deities, and Lord Shambhu is the greatest of Vaishnavas. This is where this Vaishnavanam Yata Shambhu. So Srimad Bhagavatam is the greatest of all Puranas. Puranam idam tata. It's the greatest of all the Puranas. And, as mentioned already in Padma Purana, here's the verses, there's several verses, that indicate the form of Krishna and the cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam are identical. The form of Krishna and the cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam are identical. One's a literary and the other's a transcendental feature of Krishna's form. But they're both transcendental features, just different manifestations of Krishna's form. The Bhagavatam's first and second cantos are Lord Krishna's feet. The third and fourth cantos are his thighs. The fifth canto is his navel. The sixth canto is his chest. And the seventh and eighth cantos are his arms. The ninth canto is his throat. The 10th canto is his blooming face. The 11th canto is his forehead. And the 12th canto is his head. I bow down to that Lord, the ocean of mercy, whose color is like that of a tamal tree, and who appears in this world for the welfare of all. I worship him as the bridge for crossing the unfathomable ocean of material existence. Srimad Bhagavatam has appeared as his very self. Now, this is not the Bhagavatam about the Bhagavatam. This is Padma Purana and other Puranas, Sattvika Puranas, glorifying the Shuddha Sattva Pramana, Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, there are many scriptural descriptions of benefits of Srimad Bhagavatam, reading Srimad Bhagavatam. It has all the worldly benefits. Here's some partial list. It's a great adventure story, better than some other ones I've heard about. Intrigue, struggle, romance, drama, valor, mystery, knowledge, humor, beauty, enlightenment, healing, nourishment, devotion. Again, from the 12th canto, chapter 12, one who faithfully hears or induces others to hear one verse or half a verse or even a word for some time or even a moment without deviation is capable of purifying oneself. Hear or induce others to hear. One becomes purified. Here's a first canto, chapter 2 verse about purification. You get tired of hearing this. You won't get tired of hearing this. Again and again and again and again. But that which is supreme, we hear glories of that which is supreme. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, Srimad Bhagavatam, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. And the very next verse, by regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee. Two things, hearing and serving. All that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. Now, why almost completely destroyed? Because it's just, this verse is describing a stage of bhakti. It does completely destroy, but a stage of bhakti is the stage where anarthas are destroyed. And when anarthas are destroyed almost completely, that's called the nishtha stage. Keep going and it's completely destroyed. And loving service unto the personality of Godhead who is praised with transcendental song is established as an irrevocable fact. Canto 1, Chapter 2, Text 18, often quoted verse along with many other important verses glorifying Srimad Bhagavatam. Second Canto, Chapter 8, persons who hear Srimad Bhagavatam regularly. I hope you all hear Srimad Bhagavatam regularly. Probably most of you do. And are always taking the matter very seriously. We're going to hear a nice narration about taking the matter seriously from Padma Purana, the Bhagavat Mahatmya section of Padma Purana. It's a nice story. I'm just going to stop reading all these nice references and we'll tell the story. But there's a quality of the hearing. In addition to hearing, there's the quality of taking the matter very seriously. Some of you chant regularly. Do you two girls, do you chant regularly? Sometimes. Every day? Every day? Sometimes, okay. You're honest. Do you chant every day? Sometimes. Not every day. Not every day, okay. Well, someday may you come to the stage where you chant every day. Yay. And there's another qualification that according to Rupa Goswami, text number 7 of Nectar of Instruction, Rupa Goswami says, it's important that you chant carefully in addition to every day. Adara is the Sanskrit word, chanting carefully. Here the word is taking the matter very seriously. Same thing. There's attentiveness and there's inattentiveness. There's being not distracted and there's being distracted. So aside from every day, chant, we can say with focus or with attention or with chant carefully or hear carefully. This nice narration at the end is going to be a nice story to put a cherry on top of the ice cream on top of the cake. You'll see, it's nice. But it's saying the same thing. Padma Purana says the same thing. So there's a qualitative along with every day, regularly, take the matter very seriously. Such a person will have the personality of God at Sri Krishna manifest in their hearts within a short time. Now he's already there. So what is manifest within their hearts within a short time? It means an experience. He's there, but we're out to lunch. We're paying attention to stuff, problems, and searching for happiness, and trying to be successful, and things that are out there, and it's never really attains happiness. And because of that distraction, we're not experiencing what's the reality. The reality is Krishna is already there. So very quickly, these two things, hearing regularly and taking the matter seriously, then the Srimad Bhagavatam enters your heart. And it means Krishna enters your heart, and your life becomes guided, and you experience it. I'm sure some of you, to some degree, experience it. Keep going, and as you keep going, seriously, taking the matter seriously, it becomes your life. It's how bhakti becomes awakened very naturally, just by this Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing regularly and taking the matter seriously. It's described, Prabhupada described, the hearing of Srimad Bhagavatam attracts the soul, attracts the attention of the soul, and it attracts good fortune into your life just like a magnet attracts iron. Here's a nice verse from 8th Canto Bhagavatam. Any literature or narration in which the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Uttama Shloka, is described and glorified is certainly great, pure, glorious, auspicious, and all good. Now, in all of the Puranas, the Supreme Lord is described. They have other things, But the specific feature of Srimad Bhagavatam is it's the amala. There's no tinge of anything else. Other Puranas, they may have some tinge of something else without going into it. There's some tinge of something else according to the modes of nature, because there's different modes of nature. But whatever mode of nature one may be in, if the good fortune comes into your life that you get the opportunity to hear it and receive it and take the matter seriously, then everything impure becomes taken away, leaving everything that's pure. It's like a deity of Lord Krishna, just by taking care of it, and even, this is Prabhupada's words, even by dusting the books and the bookcase, one gets enormous spiritual benefit. It's like deity worship, because we're having some function with deities. Part of deity worship, an essential part of deity worship, is keeping the place where the deity is worshipped and keeping the kitchen where cooking for the deity takes place very clean. It makes inviting. The mode of goodness becomes more elevated, and that which is in the mode of goodness, it makes it more inviting for the personality of God to reside there. So the Bhagavatam, if you have a, take note, from time to time dust it. And from time to time dust the bookcase too. I've seen sets of Bhagavatams where they're still in the plastic case. You can dust off the plastic case too. And open it too. Having Srimad Bhagavatam in your house is like having all the greatest personalities like Shukadeva Goswami, Narada, Bhishma, Prahlad, Dhruva Maharaj, Kunti Devi, Pandavas, and the Supreme Lord as guests in your home. Bo. And they don't get up and leave either. If you take good care of them. Srimad Bhagavatam is non-different from the spiritual world. And when Srimad Bhagavatam is present, the house becomes a holy dham. It's just like having a deity in your home, and your home becomes the place of the Supreme Lord, like a temple. Your home becomes a temple. Same, having Srimad Bhagavatam in your home is like having a deity in your home. So you can have both, a deity and Srimad Bhagavatam in your home. And the house then becomes a temple. Is it true? Or is it an exaggeration? This is just a little Prabhupada sharing. In the beginning stages of the Hare Krishna movement, there was very little affluence. So places were rented, but we called them temples. I mean, the Henry Street Temple, maybe some of you have heard, Radha Govinda were installed in the Henry Street Temple. And it was a rented facility. We didn't own it. And Prabhupada knew that. But the deities were installed there in many places. So then he made the comment, why do we call here's a house and there's a house and there's a house, or in a neighborhood? Like the Denver Temple, it's just, a whole big neighborhood. We call this a temple and that's a house. What's the difference? Because the worship of Krishna goes on. So when Krishna is at the center and service to Krishna is at the center, it becomes a temple. And your home can be the same. There's, quote, the temple, and then there's your home, which is, if consciousness is right, then resting upon consciousness comes activities of hearing and chanting, remembering and worshiping and living the life of devotion to Krishna. So your home becomes a temple. Now this is in a section, the benefits of Srimad Bhagavatam. So here's some children's benefits. If children hear from an early age, they will naturally develop very strong moral values and firm attraction for a spiritual life. Children love to look at the pictures. I'm one of those children. I love to look at the pictures. I'm a big kid. And to hear the stories of Srimad Bhagavatam. And here's children making their own pictures of Srimad Bhagavatam and learning the words and learning verses and so forth and so on. Reciting and memorizing prayers from Srimad Bhagavatam will save one from the greatest dangers in this and in future lives. Is that an exaggeration or true? It's true. The painting is showing it's true. It's right in the Bhagavatam. You know the story? Do you know the story? There was a king, once upon a time. There was a king. And the king's name was Indradyumna. There was a king, Indradyumna, who was involved in Puri, but this is another king, Indradyumna. And after retiring, he turned the kingdom over to his son and went to the mountains to just focus on devotion to the personality of Godhead in a secluded place. When he was engaged in meditation, Agastya Muni came to his hermitage. And because the king, Indradyumna, was so absorbed in meditation, he didn't even recognize that someone had come to his cottage. And Agastya became angry. What kind of personality are you? You don't even have the culture to receive a guest. You have the consciousness like a dull elephant. I curse you. You become an elephant. Ah! He didn't do anything wrong. He was doing things right. But Agastya lost it. But there was a purpose behind Agastya losing it. The purpose was for the king be on the fast track to go back to Godhead. So what happened was he became an elephant. But not just an elephant. He became the king of elephants. And therefore his name was known as Gaja, which means elephant. Indra, king. Indra. Put the two together. Gajendra. Yeah, that's his name. You know the story now. Okay. You have an idea.
No. I just know
the meanings of the words.
The grammar of the...
Okay. Gaja and Indra means Gajendra. So that fellow there, that he was the king of elephants. And one day they went to a lake to take bath in the lake. And the other elephants had finished their bath, but Gajendra was still in the lake, and much to his amazement, a big crocodile came and started chomping on his leg. See that guy over there? So it's in the Bhagavatam. It's stories in the Bhagavatam. Gajendra stories in the Bhagavatam. And there was a big battle. Elephant's really strong. King of elephants is really, really strong. And the crocodile wouldn't let go. And he was shaking to get the crocodile to let go, according to the Bhagavatam, for 100 years. Struggle. And after 100 years, the crocodile, because he was in his natural environment in the water, he was still going at it. And Gajendra was becoming weak, and he thought, uh-oh, I'm finished. Fortunately for him, he, in his previous life as King Indradyumna, had recited some stotras or prayers to the personality of Godhead. And soul reminded him of those prayers. And so within his mind, because he's an elephant, he can't say prayers, within his mind, he recited those prayers. Why? Because it wasn't just, what's it called, parroting or mechanical recitation of something. It was he was an elevated king. So he was reciting with feeling. And the feeling as well as the prayers came back to him. But now it's like life and death. So it's more than just feeling and reciting prayers. It's life and death. He's taking full shelter of the personality of Godhead, Vishnu. And sure enough, as the painting shows, look who came. Riding on the back of Garuda was Lord Vishnu to save his devotee, King Indradumna, who had become an elephant, but had remembered by the same Lord Vishnu's power of recollection the prayers that he had recited. Now he's reciting them with full feeling. So what did Lord Vishnu do? Two things. He took his Sudarshan chakra and chopped off the head of the crocodile or alligator, whichever it was. So that was a big relief. And as you see, Gajendra, when he sees Lord Vishnu, what's he going to do? He wants to honor him, so he got a lotus flower from the lake and reached the lotus flower up in the air to make an offering to Lord Vishnu. And Gajendra was then given a one-way ticket to Vaikuntha, because he had fully taken shelter. And something that helped him take full shelter was, as this verse says, by regular, so some of you do this, some of you don't do this, it's recommended, find some favorite prayers and immerse yourself in those favorite prayers. So it's inside, it's not just, recitation and memorization, it's inside, and in a feeling way you recite these prayers, and something happens. Not just you might become an elephant in your next life and remember that way when there's danger, but it's inside, and it stays with you. It stays with you, even into your next life, if there's a next life. Or it stays with you and carries you to the spiritual world.
It's beyond muscle memory.
Huh?
It's beyond muscle memory.
Yeah. So here's a section of Padma Purana. There's several chapters, actually, of Padma Purana, where the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam are the subject matter. Srimad Bhagavatam Mahatmya, or the Bhagavat Mahatmya section of Padma Purana. In that, tomorrow we're going to hear the rest of the narration, but this is a part of the narration where Maharaj Parikshit is being instructed by Uddhava. We'll hear the first part, but this is Maharaj Parikshit and the queens of Dwarka want to know how to deal with their feelings of separation from Krishna. They want to know how to deal with their feelings of separation from Krishna. They're already very elevated, but queens of Krishna, they're feeling separation. Krishna has departed. So many things happen which we'll hear tomorrow. But Uddhava then starts to instruct Maharaj Parikshit how even presently, after Krishna has departed, one can experience the presence of Krishna. Not just have an idea of God and believe in God and hope He'll hear your prayers or something like that. One can experience the presence of Krishna. Krishna will appear. So this is right from Padma Purana. I will now tell you the means of having Krishna manifest within one's heart. When Lord Krishna is unmanifest, He will appear from Srimad Bhagavatam. Whenever and wherever the devotee, Bhagavata, hears and recites the book, Bhagavata, at that time and at that place Lord Krishna personally appears. Whenever a verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, even half a verse of Bhagavatam is recited, Lord Krishna and his beloved gopis manifest there. After attaining a human birth in the land of Bharata, now some of you took birth in India. Some of you didn't. I didn't. Some of you younger generations, you took birth over here, so you're off the hook. Those who do not hear Srimad Bhagavatam due to sinful activities are committing suicide. A person who regularly hears or recites Srimad Bhagavatam delivers the forefathers of his wife, mother, and father. Not just, as they're getting old and diseased and have some medical problems, and there's some people that are having that situation. If you don't have it yet, it will happen. Then what are you going to do? Regularly hear Srimad Bhagavatam. Because not only death is certain, however it happens, but what happens after death? What can you do for them? The best thing you can do for them. Hear Srimad Bhagavatam regularly. And to explain himself, Uddhava, in Bhagavad Mahatmya section of Padma Purana, tells a whole story. It's a nice story. It's the Gokarna story. And Gokarna happens to be a place, a city, along the bank of the river Tungabhadra. And along this place, many brahmanas were living in this Gokarna place, along the Tungabhadra. And one of the persons who resided there was a brahmana named Atmadev. This is part of Uddhava's explanation of how Krishna will manifest if one hears regularly and seriously, both. And he had a wife, and his wife was Dunduli. And she was an attractive lady, but she had a mouth that wasn't so attractive. She would regularly criticize people, speak harsh things about them, find fault in them, say cruel, harsh things. And she was a little on the miserly side, as was her husband. He was a little bit on the miserly side. He had wealth, but he was always interested in accumulating more and more wealth. Dunduli wasn't lazy in household affairs, but a misfortune was their experience. Aside from all these other characteristics, they had no children. And it seemed important to Atmadeva that they would have children, so he decided, being a brahmana, he would go by the bank of a river, at Tungabhadra River, in a remote place, and engage in austerities and meditation, with the intention that somehow good fortune will come by that purification of himself, to he would be able to have children. One sage came and saw Atmadev doing what he was doing, and he asked him, my dear Brahmin, you look very sad. What seems to be the difficulty? You're doing nice religious activities here by the bank of a sacred river. And because the sage was very soft and kind, so Atmadev just poured out his heart and told him the whole problem. And he said, for a long time I've been desiring to have a son, but there's been no son. And the sage said, well, sometimes that happens. It's all a providential arrangement, and if it's not meant, by providential arrangement, then you have a son, then you should just accept it. But Atmadev was not ready to accept it. And so the sage said, do you know the story of King Chitraketu? He had, you know how many wives King Chitraketu had? He had more wives than Krishna had. He had a lot of wives. One wife, the next wife, queens, to have children, no children. And he couldn't accept it, that he wasn't meant to have children. So the story was narrated to him from Srimad Bhagavatam. And, finally, it's a long story in the Srimad Bhagavatam, but one of the dear friends of Narada Muni made an arrangement so he could have a son, but that he said that when you have the son, the son will be a source of great happiness or great joy and great sorrow. So King Chitraketu thought, well, supposing he's not so obedient, he talks back and says bad things, better to have that kind of son than no son. So he came back without further details. He had a son, and he was given the name by this sage, Angira Muni, Harsha-shoka. You know the meaning, right? Harsha means?
Happiness.
Happiness, and shoka means? The opposite, sadness. So what a name for a son, happiness, sadness. Yeah. So there was great joy, there's great joy, there's great joy. And the king was all absorbed in his child, his new son, and the mother. But there were so many other queens, and he wasn't paying attention to the other queens. What was the number? 1,999,999 queens were upset because he just ignored them, because he was so absorbed in his son, Harsha-shoka. So they became disturbed, feeling neglected, and they did something that wasn't very nice. They poisoned the boy. Envy and jealousy can do really bad things. We talked about that earlier today. Bad stuff. Pride and envy, really bad stuff. So, King Chitraketu heard his wife scream, and he understood something bad happened. He came running, and he saw that his son was dead. Oh, Shoka. Big time. And just while he's going through that, Angira, who's pictured there with a nice little beard and sadhu cloth, and Narada Muni came because they're friends. And they spoke transcendental knowledge to the king, and many things happened. But all of this is being narrated that if it's not meant to be, then just accept it. And Atmadev, you're so attached. You just accept providential arrangement, please. No, please do something. Please do something. So the sage said, very well, I'm going to give you a mango. And you give this mango to your wife, and she has to do such and such austerities for some period of time, and she'll be able to conceive a son. So he came back and told his good wife, Dunduli, about what happened, the austerities, what the sage said, blah, blah, blah. And all you have to do is do a bunch of austerities. She was ready to have a son, but she didn't want to do the austerities. Sound familiar? I don't want to do the austerities. And so, not knowing what to do, Dunduli went to her sister. Oh, I'm feeling really bad because... And she told the whole story. And her sister said, well, I have a solution. I'm pregnant right now. And when my son is born, you can say, this is your son. And you take care of him just like your son. And the son, when born, was named Dundakari. Dundakari turned out to be a bad guy. But they took that mango and fed the mango to a cow. And after some time, the cow gave birth to a young boy. because the sage had given this benediction. You'll have a son. And I don't know what austerities the cow did, but the cow ate the mango. And a son was born, and they named the son after the place, Gokarna. It's an actual place. And so now here's these two boys. One is Gokarna, and he was very dharmic. You see in the painting, he has ears like a cow. You see in the painting? So he got the name Gokarna, because he had ears like a cow. Gokarna. You got it, right? Gokarna. Gokarna. And he was very sattvic, very pure, very dharmic. He sat with gurus and he learned the scriptures very nicely. And then he had a stepbrother. Like exactly how everyone understood where Gokarna came from. He came from a cow. But in any case, they accept him themselves as stepbrothers. And there's Dundakari. He was just the opposite in character. He was very wicked, very cruel, very mean. He was a thief. He did bad stuff. And he lived in such a sinful way. Poor Atmadev. Not what he asked for. But his wife tricked him. And when Dundakari died, because he had become so sinful, he didn't just leave and take another lower position birth. He became a ghost. And it was very painful being a ghost. And he resided with other ghosts. And his step-brother, Gokarna, came to understand by his spiritual elevation, my stepbrother Dundakari has become a ghost. And so he's living in the hollow of a bamboo. So what he did was, Gokarna, having been trained very nicely in scripture, he decided on behalf of his brother, so dedicated to his stepbrother, Dundakari, now living as a ghost, that he conducted a recitation of Srimad Bhagavatam for 7 days, which was very nice. And at the end of each day, the bamboo in which he was residing broke by one of those knots. And at the end, when the final 7th day happened, Dundakari manifested a form. Here's what it says in Padma Purana. Dundakari was liberated from his ghostly body. Where he had previously been invisible, he suddenly appeared before the entire assembly of devotees, because there was a whole audience listening to his Srimad Bhagavatam. And when they finished Srimad Bhagavatam, he had this very beautiful form. Here's what Padma Purana says. Dundakari manifested before them a marvelous, beautiful, deep blue-colored form, garlanded with tulsi leaves and wearing a yellow cloth, a jeweled crown, and earrings. Pretty amazing, because he didn't look like that before. But he had become purified by hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Dundakari prostrated himself before his stepbrother Gokarna and thanked him sincerely for having recited the entire Bhagavatam for his benefit. So it was a yajna dedicated to the benefit of his stepbrother. And as he was speaking in this way, what happened? A Vimana descended from the Vaikuntha realm. And the Vimana picked up Dundakari, now in this new angelic-looking form, and ascended into the Vaikuntha realm. And as they were ascending into the Vaikuntha realm, Gokarna, the reciter of the Bhagavatam, asked the Vaikuntha messengers, wait, I have a question. How come everyone didn't get the same result as Dundakari was a bad guy? My stepbrother was a bad guy. But look what he got. You came for him. So why not the others? You want to guess? The difference in results comes of the differences of the quality of their hearing. Everyone present, it is true, listened to the Bhagavatam, but not everyone reflected on what they heard. The difference in results came from this, as well as the quality of their worship. So it's more than just mechanical hearing. More than just buying a set of Bhagavatams, putting it on your shelf and saying Hari Bol. There's something a little bit more to it. The ghost listened for 7 days, but each night he worshipped the Lord, even in his ghost body, during which time he reflected on, with concentration, on what he had heard. Knowledge which is unstable is lost, as is the learning of someone who has been inattentive. Same with chanting. Chanting is nice, more than nice. It's transcendental. But you don't get the full effect if you're inattentive. So how do you become attentive? Well, if you become a ghost and you understand life and death, you'll be attentive. Or if you understand that potential is, because that's what happened. All the assembly heard what these Vaikuntha messengers are saying to Gokarna. So same as hearing Bhagavatam. Japa done without concentration is wasted. Does not, it's namabhas. To obtain the fruits of hearing the Bhagavatam, one should have faith in the words of the spiritual master and an attitude of humility about his own worth. Another benchmark, humility. Amanitvam, adambitvam. He should be victorious over the flaws of the mind and have unswerving concentration on the topic he is hearing. So what happened? The Vaikuntha messengers went. Dundakari, in this beautiful Vaikuntha-looking form, doesn't say he had 4 arms, but he had, the rest of his attire was Vaikuntha-like, and off he went to the spiritual world. So, the people in the audience, having heard all that, they said, "Can you say it again?" And be really attentive this time. We promise. So he agreed. According to Srimad Bhagavatam, according to Padma Purana, sometime later, they held another week-long discussion on the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. And the Vaikuntha messengers said, and it happened, Lord Hari will come and take you. So all of the persons who heard attentively, because they understood what was at stake, they could go directly back to the spiritual world. They went directly back to the spiritual world. Lived happily ever after. Amen. That's Padma Purana's glorification of Srimad Bhagavatam and the qualities that one should have when hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So we heard back some verses ago how important it is to hear taking the matter seriously. That was what the Bhagavatam verse said. And in Rupa Goswami's message about chanting, it's, with chanting carefully, as opposed to inattentively, chanting attentively, chanting carefully, hearing carefully. Specifically, this is reflecting on the message that one has heard. And of course, reflecting means you bring it inside, and you bring it inside, it becomes how you live your life. There's a qualitative way of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So, this is a warm-up for tomorrow, because tomorrow is the description of the benefits to be derived from Bhadra Purnima and receiving or gifting Srimad Bhagavatam to others. So I hope somebody's going to be ready from the temple side to do the cheerleading part. Just a little sharing. Maybe I'll do this tomorrow too. Labor Day weekend, Bear Krishna Maharaj was here, and I was in Houston, Texas. And in Houston, Texas, we had a japa retreat. And there was some mention, because the devotees in Houston are very enthusiastic about increasing Srimad Bhagavatam distribution. And so I said something about it. You know, Bhadra Purnima is coming at the end of this month, and the Purnima, so please be aware and give thought. So the MC, nice devotee, his name is Chirag, he's been the MC for like 20 years. He's really nice, and he has, you know, a really strong Texas accent. Although he's Indian, he sounds like he's a Texan. You didn't see his face, you just hear his voice. He sounds like a Texan. Cowboy hat and the whole thing. I mean, his voice sounds like that. But he's gentle, and I've never heard him do this before. He got ungentle. He held the microphone out like this and said, I want to see some hands of how many people want to sponsor a Bhagavatam set. And people started responding, and he said, come on, I want some more names. I don't know if that's going to happen here. It worked. It worked. So I don't know who's going to do it. You going to be doing it? He's patting you, Jagatananda. He wants you to do it. The hard cop and soft cop.
Already gentle. He's gentle.
So that's your job. You can get some cues from Chirag. Call him up. I'll give you his contact information. You can tell him how to harass people. Walk up to somebody and say, are you going to... What about you? No, many of the people who responded, it was fun. It wasn't unfun. It was nice. But many of the people have Bhagavatams and just made a gift of Bhagavatams. Some people didn't have Bhagavatams. One person was kind of fence-sitting, and someone said, I want to donate a set of Bhagavatams for this man. What language do you want? Because there are different languages of Srimad Bhagavatam. They're not only in English. In Texas, most people do speak English, but they may want to read in Telugu or something. So you have those other languages. You can get them if you need be. So this is a prelude for tomorrow's Bhadra Purnima Ra Ra Ra. But Srimad Bhagavatam is so wonderful. It's no harm in saying Ra Ra, because it's so wonderful. It's an eternal benefit for anyone who hears what to speak of, regularly hears what to speak of, regularly hears taking the matter seriously. In the Abbas stage of hearing and chanting, it's still beneficial, eternally beneficial, what to speak of seriously and attentively and carefully hearing. It's our life and soul. We'll hear tomorrow. Look at the Goswamis. It's their life and soul, along with chanting and residing in the holy dham and taking the benefits of those things. Okay, so Srimad Bhagavatam. I should stop because it's time to have the arti. Are you ready for the arti? That was a yes? Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam.